Hey, what's going on, Niner fam? It is me, Peter Lucas, and this is the Niner Fanatic Podcast. Today, I got with me Drew, Bias Drew from Twitter, and Drew is last name Wilson, right? And
Yes, sir.
why don't you tell them all where they can find you on the socials?
You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Twitter at the same name that you see right here at the bottom. Bias Drew, as is. And when you say it, it's Biased Drew, and it just goes along together. Upcoming show coming up, working on some kinks, but it'll be there. Uh, it's going to be about just everything with your biased opinions. So, how everybody can tell you what to say and tell you what stats and facts is there. But I like to just hear your own opinion come in there and we just talk it out.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm excited for it. And we know each other. We've been on another on Ryan's podcast,
Oh,
the
yeah.
24/7 Niners. And so shout out to Ryan and that whole crew, Ronnie Niner, all of y'all, Matt,
Everybody.
and
Mav, Ryan, Mike,
yeah, all of y'all.
the
and
whole crew, TJ, everybody.
yeah, so yeah, shout out to everybody and Shant and the guys overseas too.
All of
And
them.
yeah, it was
it's a big group.
yeah, for sure. When I first started talking to Ryan, I was like, "Oh wow, there's a lot of people." But I mean, yeah, they have a really good show, really good setup over there. So check them out, of course. You can find them on Twitter and YouTube. So, but today we're going to talk about state of the franchise. They had their annual press conference yesterday, and what did you think of the presentation? And did you have any major takeaways from it?
I did. So I first of all I want to talk about just the opening. Jay York came on there and did the tribute to Frank Gore and Brian Young. I thought that was just something like, man. And then they had the highlights and it was like, just thank you again, Frank. Thanks, Brian. They came in there, gave us something to watch, some entertainment, some, what the outcome. We won the rings from them, but
For sure.
I feel like Frank Gore, as like Barry Sanders, as like other players, he's one of them that should have got one. Like, even look, when we win one this year, I still give him one.
Yeah, no, for
Still
sure.
gotta give. Hey, man,
Frank was
get
always
your
my
ring.
favorite. Yeah, Frank was always one of my favorites. I used to call him the offense because back then he was literally our only offense.
And that's what was explained. He told me, he said, a person who can run, who can catch, who can block, he was literally playing fullback, wide receiver, running back. While, we talk about Debo, this guy was doing that. And I mean, I feel like he doesn't get enough recognition as possible because when you actually do want to talk about stats and you look at it, this man 16 seasons and 16,000 yards, and he's literally right up there with Barry. And people don't even look at it like that. This man's stats is up there with Barry Sanders, and it's amazing. He had a good career. Congratulations. Just hate to see him go. Just one more. I wish he would have did.
Yeah,
I was trying for that last year. I put it up there like, man, give him one more year with us. Let him just play it out.
yeah. I was hoping that he'd spend his last year with us, like maybe playing at that fullback spot. I thought they might not want to spend the money on Juice. I think it was last season. I was thinking about it, and yeah, it didn't really work out. He still ended up playing, but yeah, like you said about Frank. Frank is. I feel like he's a Hall of Famer. I hope he gets first ballot. But I mean, if To didn't get first ballot, I mean, it's really kind of hard to say that Frank's going to get in their first ballot. But I know that eventually he's going to make it, and it's not even a question to me. Yeah, so it's but yeah, it was good to see him retire as a 49er and then give him his credit. Kyle talking about how much he meant. I mean, Kyle spent a few minutes talking about Frank, and how much he meant to the organization. And it was just good to see them give him his just due. He, like you said, his numbers are up there with Barry Sanders and all of them. And yeah, it was a lot of it was longevity, and he was able to stay healthy for a long time, which is amazing in itself. considering he came
Especially
off of like,
yeah,
yeah,
the 3
coming off
knees.
of his college, like coming off his college injury issues. It was shocking that he would have as long of a career as he did. But Frank Gore was tremendous, and I missed him as soon as he left. Like, I mean, I knew the writing was on the wall at the time, but it is what it is. Like, it is NFL. But they did. But we were talking some offline about the like our kind of a few of our takeaways about the conference, the press conference, and like it was really, it's been kind of weird this off season when you really look at how Kyle has kind of been with the media and how he is almost been happy, and I mean, he's been telling jokes. He's been really talkative when before he used to be really standoffish with the media. And I can't help but think that it really has a lot to do with the fact that he's looking forward to this season and kind of
Oh yeah.
putting his stamp on this team. I don't know how you felt about it.
I think you're absolutely right. I think he sees something that, I mean, the media, the media is out there. They see things. They say what they want to say. We're not going to go to all the media because if I get on this Grant thing, I'm going to go off. So I'm going to leave that. But I'm like, the media is going to say and portray what they see for right now.
Yeah.
But unless you actually been out there on that field as a coach or a player, half of them haven't, they just report on the news.
Mm-hmm.
He's seeing something totally different. And I think he's excited about what he's seeing. How he talked about through this conference about Drake Jackson. He talked about Trey Lance. And he was like, I'm seeing something in him that he doesn't even see in himself. And when he said that, I'm like, he sees potential. I've already been seeing it. I like the fact that even Steve Young has came out and said, I see me in him. And I'm like, there's something that everybody's just not going to high push for somebody that they're not just really believing in. Somebody saying, everybody's like, oh, he hasn't even played the first game. But you got his team backing him. And you can say, okay, that's a biased opinion. It's his team. But then you got, he's getting help from Steve Young coming out there. The coach is giving him high praises. He got players from other teams like, hey, don't worry about nobody say you're going to go out there, play a game, and you're going to be a beast about it. So it's like, what is everybody seeing that you guys say you're not seeing right now,
Yeah, it really, when you look at it, I was how Kyle and Lynch kind of seemed to be like they're really talking about the direction of the team, and you could just see it on their faces. Like Trey Lance. I really think the way that they look at Trey Lance is they know that they've got something. They know that they
smile
have it.
tells it all. I'm telling
Like you could just tell they like, yeah, he was just cheesing, and
I was
like, I
like, oh,
mean,
this is weird. Okay,
yeah, it's going. I think that they just can't wait to get this kid on the field and show you their shiny new toy. That like, it's going to be. I think it's going to be trouble for the league, like because they're literally going to be able to do anything on the field. And then when you look at all the, and we'll get into it later about the different position groups, but when you really look what they did in this offseason, how they rounded out this roster, I think that they're really confident in in everything that they did in this offseason. And did they have some holes that I think me and everybody else kind of thinks that they have? We all think that we're not sure about a couple of positions, but at the same time, they know the team better than we do. They know what they have. They know they're confident in what they have, and every team has a hole or two. So it's not like it's wrong for them to have a hole. So like
no.
it's
Then with holes, I mean, it's something that gets seen between preseason and your first week, and by mid, you see teams that switch mid. Prime example, let's talk about last season. We started off to the point where people were scared and paranoid. Guess what? Ended up in the NFC Championship. So yes, we have holes, and when we see it, we'll fix it.
yeah.
Kyle Shanahan's great for that. I've said on our show, I've said on anybody, just talking to anybody, this man, I don't know, he finds the talent and the talent that people think they don't have. So the people that people have passed on and say, maybe I don't see it, this guy has bought it out of these people to make stars. And it's so crazy how even last season there were so many people giving up. Like they said, fire the coach. Oh man, get rid of this player, get rid of their slipping. And I'm like,
Lynch.
man,
They were talking about get rid of Lynch.
Yeah, like look, just give it some time. Lynch. Okay, I have my issues with Lynch at the same time, but he just, as we have said, he's an old school type player, and that's the issue. He's an old school type, how he does and see things. So he kind of sticks to that method, and everyone went to a barbershop, and then there's the new barbers and the old barber, and he's like, I'm gonna just stick to this. And he got the old equipment while the other guys got the super edgers, and we use the knife razor, and he's just with his old, but it still comes out clean. And you're like, I don't like that method, but no matter what, it's still gonna come out looking like the guy with the new barber. So what he does is, it's not gonna be everybody's method, including mine. It's not, but it's always the results. You got us to a Super Bowl with this method. The NFC Championship when we was down with this method, and long as it keep, we're getting there. Absolutely what you're doing. So it can't down you on it. Now it's not our Super Bowl win yet, but I know it's coming because we keep getting closer. It's like we keep flirting with it, keep getting there. We've seen the Chiefs, we've seen the Ravens. Here we are again in the NFC. And that one interception, I'm not going to blame it on the interception, but that interception would have did it.
Yeah. It probably would have. I just look at it and all of the stalled drives. I mean, there was a few different things in that game that if we had made one or two more throws, we could have had it too. So it is what it is. But there's no use in looking back. But it's
no, we are on this season now. It's a new season.
Yes,
I'm waiting for the season to start.
It's a new season.
Fast enough.
The big thing for me is I look at just how, like I said it before, how well rounded that they've made this team. And I'm like you. Do I necessarily agree with their methods every time they do? I mean, Jimmy's still on the team. We would have rather him been gone. But
I'm still not understanding that. I ain't gonna go there.
But I mean, it's at the end of the day, they always seem to put together a solid squad. And the way I look at it is they always set us up to be in contention. And really, in the NFL, that's really all you can ask for from a team, from a front office, is for you to constantly be in the mix. And then your players and injuries come into play, and coaching situations, all that kind of stuff comes at all these singular situations come into play for you to get to where you are. Look at how lucky the Rams had to get to the Super Bowl. They had so many young. Oops, my bad.
I'm not gonna call that luck. That was a lot of money involved.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm talking about the plays themselves. There was a lot of lucky plays.
Uncappable.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, I just look at, even with all those guys that they paid for, they had to have a lot of stuff fall their way to get that victory. Some people could say that they got some help from the refs in the Super Bowl. There was like I said about us, we just missed a couple of throws and an interception, and we probably would have been there. They could have lost to Tampa Bay too, and it was so. I mean, money isn't everything. I think that the 49ers do go about it the right way, and they bring guys up from within. They re-sign their own players that they they train up. So I just look at it as they're doing the right way. They're setting themselves up for sustained success instead of just, okay, we're gonna keep throwing money, and that worked for the Rams. But I feel like our team is set up for success for the next 5 to 10 years. So,
yeah. Also on that take, you said you wanted to keep talking about the takes. Well, I like when Ayuk and them got up there.
Oh yeah,
and
for sure.
I got shocked. I did not know Juan Jennings was a quarterback.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that either.
And when he said that, I was like, wait a minute. What? He said
Yeah,
when
I
he
didn't know that.
switched
That
over,
surprised me too.
and I was like, I don't see it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
said maybe it's me, but I can't see it. Like he's a big guy, and I mean I know there's big quarterbacks, but I'm like I'm looking at this whole stature,
yeah,
and I'm like, and then with that his scramble, I'm like your scramble had to be dangerous.
yeah, for sure. I mean, he just
Yes.
knocking people over.
And he was like, well, how do you make yourself one of the best separators from these man defenses? And he's like, well, being that and switching over, and he was like playing basketball. I never thought about it until he said that. When you got to get open, you have to shake these guys one on one in
Yeah.
basketball to even get to the rim. And I thought about
Hmm.
it like, man, listen, man, that's an athlete right there.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you are on our team. I cannot wait for this season to see him. And then
Yeah.
the high praise that they was giving Danny Gray, and I used to sit there and say, "Hey, this guy's really fast."
Yeah.
I'm like, do we have another Tyreek on our team? Can we have some speed to have
Yeah.
a quarterback who has an arm to throw this ball deep finally and see some plays happen? I don't know what to say. I don't know what to
Yeah.
say.
I don't want to put that on him yet because he already got a like I guess he pulled a hammy in OTAs. So they're probably gonna, and I mean I know it's nothing big. Like they said, it's nothing big. They just didn't want to, further the injury or get him more injured. But like
Oh no, don't do
yeah,
it.
like but it always scares me when guys like get hurt right away. like maybe I'm just shell shocked from being a 49er fan and that we've had so many injuries over the
Man,
years,
listen,
but
I had so much high hope for Jalen Hurd.
oh
I had so
man,
much high hope.
don't even get me started on that guy. On Madden, Jalen Hurd was a beast.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I was like, this guy can break tackles on the game, but then even when you watch his preseason game, if you
Yeah,
watch the preseason game, he had 2 touchdowns against Dallas, and
yeah,
one of them he bowled over like 2 guys. I was like, oh, this is it. Nope, another injury. I was like, please,
yeah, no, yeah. He was
why?
injured on that play. He got injured on that play.
On that play, I was just like, man, I couldn't take it. I was like, the potential, and you see, like, okay, this guy can be a monster at it, and he just
Yeah.
could not break these injuries.
Yeah, but Ayuk, like I don't know if you know, like noticed, but Ayuk seemed to be real comfortable on the mic, like which I thought was because it seemed like when he came in the league, he seemed a little shy and quiet, but it seemed like he was real comfortable on the mic, and of course Jennings was kind of reserved and didn't really have a lot to say, but. Do you think that Jennings is going to have to get more comfortable? Because I think, like you were just talking about him, I think that he's gonna have a big I don't.
Oh yeah,
When I say
you're gonna have a
breakout
lot to say
season,
after these conversations. Hey, how
yeah,
did you get that big catch? Speak, sir.
yeah, yeah,
We're
exactly.
gonna
And
need that
but
coaching going.
like when what's it called? He I don't know how huge of a breakout he's gonna have this year, just because I still think that we're gonna run the ball most of the time. And I still think they're gonna keep Trey throwing 25, maybe 25 to 30 games or 30 times a game. So I don't know how big of his breakout, but I would be happy if he just got like 700 yards, 700, 800 yards. And I think that's a
I think
breakout. That would be considered a breakout for him.
see what I like about him is I looked last year and you watch the highlights, and I watched the highlights again, and I'm like, he's a big red zone third down type of guy,
Hmm.
and that like his third, it was third downs where it was like third and short, and you was changing like, hey, we only need maybe 5, 6 yards, and he's getting 15 to 20. I'm like, can you imagine him just at the receiver position, not just for this third down and not for this red zone, to just to but to move it and just watch him make better plays and make better moves and get on that field more. I think it's going to be a nice breakout to have Debo, Ayuk, and use him in the third off and on.
Yeah.
Like I think his size. also like the separation, his size, he has the height like to catch over these guys, and it's amazing to watch him. Like I didn't know like who he really was, and I
Yeah.
spoke this on our show before, and I'm like,
Yeah.
this dude was surprised, but I'm like, oh, who is this guy, man? He's not gonna get. And it was like, oh well, he's been on the team before, then he was cut, then brought back, and so I'm like, okay, so who is he? Oh, he showed me who he was. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
excuse me, sorry, sir, if I said anything bad on your name,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, he was a
'Cause-
beast at Tennessee. Like he just, I mean, he wasn't projected. I mean, he ran a 4.7 at the combine. So like I don't think anybody thought that he would be what he is today. But I think that they
no,
overall, and we'll talk about the position groups in a little bit, but uh I think that he's gonna everybody's looking at him to be the third wide receiver. But I'm looking at it as they're gonna put a lot of different guys in that third wide receiver spot. I think it's always gonna be Ayuk and Debo on the bookends. But then I think that
oh
it's gonna
yeah,
be sometimes it's gonna be Jennings, sometimes it's gonna be Ray, sometimes it's gonna be Danny Great, and like
oh yeah. I
it's
mean, I see the potential with this wide receiver core.
yep,
And who is this guy? I had to ask the other day because all of a sudden I just seen this guy Mac,
yeah,
and I'm like, where did he come from? And then I seen a picture that he's just hanging out with Trey Lance, and I'm like, okay, this guy's name been popping up more and more lately. I'm like, I didn't even know who he was.
yeah. I think he
I'm
was an
like,
he was an undrafted free agent. Like so
so it must be showing some type of potential that all of a sudden I just keep seeing your name. I'm like, all right, who is this guy? I keep popping. So I went on Twitter like this. Anybody know who,
yeah,
who this guy is? Hey, we got another receiver. Like we already got 10. So we got another
yeah.
one.
I mean, it's just a can't. I look at it as their camp body. There's going to be a lot of camp bodies, and it's going to be they're going to put some dudes on the practice squad. Then they're gonna find ways to stash these guys so that because injuries are going to happen, and they're going to need guys that know the system and that can jump right in. And they've got a few guys that I think that they brought in, like this that I believe is Marcus Johnson is his name, and then
Yeah.
they got another guy that they signed in the offseason that they got from the Cowboys, and I cannot remember his name for the life of me. But
I know who you're talking about.
he's another guy that that was impressing in OTAs. So what I mean, they've just got such a wealth of like kind of riches in some of these position groups that it's like it's so much depth that like we're not even used to having this amount of depth like in these position groups. So
No,
uh
but I like it because what I'm seeing with this death is we know we deal with injuries every year.
yeah,
It's something that pops up, and whether it's short term injury or long term, it kind of messes up because it kind of messes up the flow. So what I seen, what they were doing this year, and I like is that they're making the positions to the point that if somebody goes out, it's not going to feel like anybody is missing
yeah,
because they are finding these guys who are kind of alike with that starter. It may not be the same, but they're close enough and unique enough to say, hey, if he goes out, we're not going to miss a piece. And I
yeah,
like that they did. So everybody was, we've seen people in there getting upset, like, why do we keep signing this person in this position? And I'm like, y'all not looking at the bigger picture. They're setting themselves up to say, hey, he's injured. And they're like, oh man, now we're gonna look down and we might lose games because the backup guy, he
hmm
don't play like this player. Guess what? They're making players to play like that player. They're finding
yep.
players to play like this player to fill that hole. And I love it. I
Yeah,
love
no,
it.
I thought what another interesting thing that they said during during the interviews was that they were just picking players. Kyle said that he picked Ray McDonald. He didn't. A lot of people thought that they were signing a lot of these guys because they were special team. They were just good at special teams. But Kyle was saying that Ray was just on his list as a wide receiver,
Yeah, I
then he
seen
found
that.
out, and then he just happened to be on the special teams coach list for returner. So like that's how they kind of came together on him, and then on top of it, then they had Oren Burks. Like D'Amico had him on his list as like kind of for a backup position at the linebacker spot. And
but that's kind of his guy. I mean,
yeah,
you got to think they're coming from the same spot. That was his. He was like, if I leave, I take you with me.
yeah. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting that they kind of it just happened to be they were getting good special team. They were really focusing on the backups, like on backing those guys up with good veteran talent, and those guys that could step in just in case they did have guys go down. And like you were saying, it's going to happen. Like guys are going to miss games, and do you have somebody that's capable backing them up? And I think that they've learned. I think they've learned from the past couple of years that it's necessary to have that, especially after 2020. They that was probably a humbling lesson that they had to have. They had to have backups.
Yeah,
Like
and that's exactly it though. It was a lesson learned, and it's good to see that we have the backup now.
yeah,
So,
for sure.
like I said, people who complained about it and we don't need this guy, and everybody just wanted these big names out here. Y'all don't understand. What they did was kind of like save the money, add more depth, and say instead of just keep adding big names of a person who could possibly get injured and then have nobody to back that big name, we just added key players and role players to make this look good. We literally can have at the time right now 2 first strings. And what I mean by that is your second string is playing like your first string. We have 2 first strings in a couple of these positions right now. And I'm like, it's crazy to see that.
Yeah.
I'm like, we have parts that these dudes is on any other team would be starters. But the fact that we have this line set with starters and then to turn around and say, hey, but this backup is set with starters, like that's crazy.
Yeah. And I mean, that's I think of the wide receiver group. I think of the defensive line. Like it's
Secondary
even the
also,
linebacker. Even I was gonna say even like the corners and linebackers.
and that's
They
been
it's
having the cornerbacks and the secondary. So while we're on that position, I got a question for you.
yeah.
I did mark this down because you could talk about what what areas did we see in the positions. I was doing the secondary because I started checking out stuff. Our safeties is deep.
Yeah, deep.
But
Like,
how are we going to get most of these guys to play? Because I'm watching, daily with the weekly OTAs, and this guy, O'Neal Jr. start there like he's a standout guy. He's coming out, he's out. But then you got Talanoa, and then you got Ward, and then I'm like, we got all these safeties. Who is your starting safety? I'm like, what is going on here?
I honestly think it's going to be Hufanga. Like, I just don't. I think that is a lot of those videos that you were talking about. They showed him and Jimmy Ward together. Him and Jimmy Ward all through OTAs, all through minicamp were first string safeties. I think that they're really kind of grooming Hufanga for that spot. But I think that they also have the Leon O'Neals, you've got the the Odoms, and the what's the other guy that they drafted a corner this season, like towards the end of the draft.
What is his name?
But they drafted he's a larger corner, and they were saying that he has safety traits too. So, and then they got some undrafted free agents that are also they got another safety. I think is Knight, Quantrez Knight. I want to say he's safety too. So
this is what I mean. Like, I started really looking at that, and when you asked me, like, okay, let's talk about the position groups you're excited about, I was like, I gotta throw this in there because we got so many people I didn't even realize. Like, I went to go look it up, and I'm like, okay, there's the wide receiver core, it's the different defensive line core, and then I look and I'm like, oh wow, between cornerbacks and safeties, I was one of the people complaining, like, man, we better read up on cornerbacks. So when the draft happened, I'm like, I didn't see if we read up too much. And everybody's like, we're good. I was like, well, let me check this back out. we're good.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
good.
I think Hafunga is going to take a step forward this season. I thought I was one of those guys that thought that he was a step slow to be able to cover in today's NFL, but I think that he is just. I think with he makes up for that with his instincts, and it just really comes down to who does Kyle or who does D'Amico trust? And I think he really trusts Afunga. I think we saw it last year. He tried everything to get that kid on the field. He
They
just
did.
wanted him on the field.
Hey, I was like a huge fan of him, like from the draft and on. And we've talked about this and discussed this on our show. And they're like, why? I said it was the potential I seen.
Yeah.
From USC to coming over to him training with Troy. And then I'm like, when people train with somebody and you get this one NFL player, they do it for the hype. And then by the next season, they're trying to train themselves. He's training with this guy again. And I'm like, maybe there's something that everybody is seeing now. Like even Troy, to the point he comes back to train with this guy and show him the ropes. So I'm liking that, and I like his potential. When he got that touchdown in Green Bay in the playoffs, and I know it was off of just, it was a block field goal, I went crazy. Like he just ran a 99-yard.
Man, I'm jumping up and down. I couldn't believe that they blocked it first off. I couldn't believe that they blocked it first off. And then on top of it, what's it called? They had what's it called? He just picked it. He just happened to be right there. And that's I guess that's what I'm talking about as far as his instincts. He's one of those guys that just always kind of ends up around the ball, and which is kind of a weird trait to have, but he's just one of those types of people, players.
From his USC days, I noticed he was like an attacker, which I like. He's not a person who, somebody catches it and then he waits for them to get to him. He's running when he sees that ball in the air. He's either want to make a play or he want to make a hit. Only thing that I did see when it got to the NFL that I can call a weakness was sometimes he seemed kind of lost out there. Maybe it was just a lot going on, faster pace now. It's NFL. But guess what? The fact that they're putting you out there again, like you said, and they're starting on the opposite, that means you caught on to it. And he started playing more at the end of the season. You started seeing him to the point they put you as a rookie in a playoff game to make them listen. It is a transformation for these players sometimes, and it's a higher speed. The fact that he's picking it up, I'm excited to see him also. So if that's going to be the starters between him and Jimmy, let's go. I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm good.
I think that's going to be dangerous back there.
One of those guys that we're forgetting about is Travarius Moore. Like we lost him all last season, and with the ACL. And what does he give? What does he show? And I mean, we really haven't seen him because I don't think he's actually doing drills and stuff yet. But what does he end up showing? And do we see more of him and Jimmy Ward in training camp? I wonder, or just a mixture of the three, like kind of like they did with Tart, Ward, and Hafunga this past season. Who knows?
I think it'll be a swap out.
Yeah,
I see a swap out on a couple of them because I mean, some of these, like you said, some of these cornerbacks can play safety. Some of these safeties can play up and play corner, and it's amazing what they're doing because I see like I said, they put in players where you can have two starters. Like I'm looking at the cornerback, and you look at your cornerback position. So we got Ward in there now. We re-signed Jason. We got Mosley. Ambry Thomas stepped up. I'm like, they're going to rotate these guys out. Ambry Thomas became a standout by the end of the year. Yeah. Mosley was doing good, but now Verrett's back, and now you're like, okay, we got Ward on the team. It's too much for the secondary.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not complaining. Don't get me wrong. It's not
a good problem to have.
But that's what I'm talking about. It's good to have two first stringers when you look at these positions. It's not, oh, this is second string, this is first string. We have, look, hey, this is first string, and this is first string part 2. And it's going to be dangerous because they're going to be like, oh, they're tired. We'll switch them out. Guess what? You're still in trouble.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's the
Yeah,
hey, switch Emmanuel out for Avery Thomas. Oh man, not him. Hey, switch. Hold on 1 second.
yeah. So I mean, like while we're waiting for Drew to come back, like
I heard them.
it's okay. Like, but I wanted to say, with the position groups, like, I'm thinking about what position group is the best on the team right now, and we're just talking about all the depth and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I still think I have to go with the defensive line as the best on the team right now as far as the position group goes. Even though we're so deep at corner and like just and the backfield, like I just look at the defensive line and how, like, I mean, just how many horses they have. And it's just I don't know, like you said earlier, it's like we have two different first teams.
That
Because
defensive
even if
line, it looks scary.
yeah,
I'm going.
I think. Do you think that they have more sacks? That they had 48 sacks last season. Do you think they get more than 48, like into the 50s?
I see between 55, 60 sacks. And look, I'll break it down for you right now.
I'm with you.
I see Bosa standing out. I see Drake coming to stand out. I see what's the guy? Not Burks. What is his name that they moved? Another guy we just got. I can't remember his name.
Oh, for defensive. Wait, we just moved to where?
He came from another team. He was playing linebacker, but we're moving him to the line.
Oh, Teray?
There you go.
No. Oh, okay, yeah, Teray.
Right.
Yeah, he was always like kind of he was more of an edge rusher, and I think that's what they were thinking, to do the same thing that they did with Ebicom, like because Ebicom was kind of a linebacker edge hybrid guy, and they just made him an edge player, and I think that's what they want to do with Teray.
And that's what they're doing. And then we get Kerry Hyder back. Let's not forget when he was with us. See, he went to Seattle, and Seattle didn't know what to do with him. That's because they're Seattle. But when he's with us, what he got? I think it was 5 to 7 sacks. So there goes 5 to 7 right there. This is going to be
he had 8.5 sacks. He had 8.5 sacks with us.
Okay, 8.5. This is going to be imagine he goes and he gets 10. And then you get Bosa's. He's going to have at least over between 15, 20. So there goes 30. Like, this is going to be an amazing team. Like,
yeah, it's crazy.
They're going to be mad to run. When teams come, hey, these are running teams. They're like, oh, ain't nobody trying to really run right here. Right? We're going to have to try to find the air game going. And then you're like, oh, no, they got swapped for these cornerbacks and safeties. Air game is going to be shut down. Hey, yeah, this might literally, and I'm not saying this with a bias. Okay, I am saying this with a bias fan. We might have the best defense right now.
I think that they are primed to have the number one defense in the league.
And we're not even going to talk about Fred. We're not even going to talk about Fred. We know he's the best linebacker in the league right now.
But then Aziz showed us a lot last season.
He stepped up. And I got so scared because I thought we was going to release him this year. I was like, please.
Well, I thought we were going to trade, what's his name? The other guy, Greenlaw. I thought we were going to trade Greenlaw because we really only use two linebackers most of the time.
Yeah. But it's the rotation. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. This rotate, they want to have 2 first stringers. And I think that's why they kept Greenlaw. They're like, Fred's going to be out there. Aziz is going to be out there. Switch Aziz with Greenlaw sometimes. Okay, switch Warner sometimes with Teray. All right, now put Teray on the line and put Warner back. This is going to be so much rotation that is going to be confusing for teams, and I think it's going to upset some teams because
like that.
It's going to look like anyway. They're going to be like, well, this person is right here, so we're good. No, because then by next game they're going to be like, well, why is he on the line?
I think teams are going to be upset regardless, because I think if they can't, because now all of a sudden, instead of DJ Jones on first and second down, you've got Kinlaw. You got Kinlaw in the middle, and with Eric Armstead, and then you've got Bosa on one side, and then they'll probably go with like
You see how you
either a
just keep
hider.
naming them?
Like, I mean, it's.
We got names
I
for
mean, you
days.
can't run the ball. You can't I mean, you're not going to be able to run the ball with all that beef in the middle.
And that's what I'm saying. That run game is going to be shot. We will have. Mark my words. I'm telling you right now, we will have the best run defense this year in the NFL.
Well, I thought we had the best. I thought we had the best run defense last year, and that was.
It was hard run. I can't even say last year. I think for the last couple of years, no matter what, even with injuries, it's been hard running against the 49ers.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was the. I think teams thought that was the
Shanahan has had in line, injuries or not. He's like, backup guys, starters. I don't care who you are. You better shut this run down. And they did a good job every year. I don't know what he does, but he got that run. Don't let them run. Don't let them come in here and run. I don't care if it's their home. Don't let them run.
I think that was the thing that like when we went up against Dallas in the playoffs. I was in the Twitter Spaces I was in Dallas Twitter Spaces, and I was sitting there, and they were talking about how they were gonna, Pollard and Zeke, and they were gonna do this and that. And I said, you understand, like we have a top 5 run defense in the league, right? Like it's not gonna go down the way you guys think it is.
Zeke could get a feed me celebration off.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly what happened. Like, I mean, they just could not run the ball. And then I don't know what happened to Dak. Dak just was so confused because he had open receivers out there. He just
scared.
Didn't know. Yeah, he didn't know what was going on.
The last play says it all. How do you have, hey, we have no timeouts. We have this little bit of time. Your instinct was to run and slide. You can blame the ref all you want. I'm going to tell you, that was a dumb play.
Yes, it was.
Fear showed everything. Everybody was like, well, why didn't you just throw it out of bounds? You still would have had time. No, you ran because you was like, oh, gosh, here they come.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, here they come. He didn't know what to do. He was shook that
crazy.
game.
But with our defensive line, I think we can agree is the number one. I would say the number 2 position group on this team for me is probably the secondary. Which is why I say that I think that we're going to have the number 1 defense in the league this season. If not, we're going to have a top 3 defense at the very least.
I'm not even going to go there. I'm going to go with your first one because, like I said, this rotation is nasty. Like this, we haven't. I can say honestly, as a fan, we haven't had the depth like this in a while that we've been needing. And
for sure.
Like I said, I liked how they did it. And they, like they always say, 49ers will not tell you they moves. They'll just show you. And they did it so slick because people was confused. Well, why are we picking up this guy? Why are we picking up this guy? And
I was one of them.
It came to the point where I was upset because I seen Tyrod Matthew. He was for the longest. He went on a vacation on the free agency. When he came back, he came out and admitted, like, I wouldn't mind being in San Fran, but I wouldn't mind being home in New Orleans. And I wouldn't. He'd say a couple teams. So they was like, okay, he's doing these meetings. And I'm like, all of a sudden, they said 49 show no interest. I'm like, what? But I was watching after a while, and I'm like, these guys are picking up players that fit their scheme, that fits right in their scheme at a smaller price and still getting big plays.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, y'all think y'all slick.
Yeah.
They were slick moving on people.
Every
season. Want to go after these big names, and they was like, okay, we'll grab this guy. We'll grab this guy. Like Ward, I think was a surprising pick for a lot of people. Nobody seen us going after him. There was no talk about it, no anything. He just, hey, 49 signs, Rares Ward. It was like, whoa, wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah,
you're welcome, guys. You're welcome.
I think, exactly. That Charvarius Ward pickup was really, I think that a lot of us, we didn't know what they were going to do as far as like who they were going to go after in free agency. But picking him, and I think that after the playoffs, I think that everybody was almost comfortable with our secondary. We thought, who's going to start at the nickel spot, but then you add in Charvarius Ward to the mix, and now all of a sudden we got corners for days. Like then they pick up Womack, then they pick up what's it called? They got another guy. They got another guy in the draft, and then they got they got another guy too, and I can't think of his name. But I mean, there's just so many guys that they picked up that it's and then they got Verrett, and then Verrett came back. And which, can we really count on Verrett? I don't think we can, but it's good to have the depth there. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, I have said this before and I say it again. When Verrett is healthy, big time player.
Yes.
Keeping him healthy
absolutely
is a hard job.
Yes.
Keeping him healthy is a hard job.
Yeah.
I looked at it and I was looking at the stats one day and I'm like, yo, when this guy plays, he did, matter of fact, it was like 2 games that he did back-to-back interceptions. Yeah. And I'm like, he's there. He knows. It's just keeping him actually healthy is one of our biggest issues.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know if it's on us. I don't know if it's on him, body training, or maybe, body.
I just think he's unlucky. I just think he's unlucky. Like, I mean, there's some of those guys that are just really good players and that they just can't stay healthy. And it's unfortunate for him because he's he's just really good. But his body just cannot keep up. And I mean, it is what it is. But then, so after the defensive line, after the secondary, who do you think is the best after those two?
After the defensive line, after the secondary, like I said, I'm excited to see the wide receiver core, and we talked about that. Yeah. After that, I think it's the running backs.
Yes.
Now, people say quarterbacks because between with Trey and Brock, I'm sorry, I'm just kind of sold at Trey, so I'm not. I just want to see Trey.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, it's wide receivers and then the running backs. And the running backs I get into because I'm like, okay, they're like this guy, Trey Sermon. He was supposed to be a big star last year. He didn't. He injured himself, but now they're like, he's making progress. And I'm like, okay. But then they got Ty Davis. Okay. We re-signed Jeff Wilson. Okay. I'm like, wait a minute. And then
I mean,
like,
you still got Hasty. You got Hasty on the squad.
We still got Mitch. I'm like, okay, wait a second. Then they're like, they got another guy. It's a new guy.
Yeah, Jordan Mason.
There you go. And they're like, he is a pounder with the rock. And I'm like,
they said he's the exact same player as Ty Davis Price, except they said he catches the ball a little bit better out of the backfield. So, like, he's another guy that's like 215 pounds. Like, so
I'm telling you, I'm just like, it's so much excitement with, like I said, all these positions to say, hey, we got a first string, second string.
Yeah.
They're like, wait a minute, what? Yeah, we got.
And then you got your wide receiver group, and then you got the wide receiver group like that has, I mean, like we were talking about before. You got your Debo and you got Ayuk. That's already to me a top 5 wide receiver tandem in the league. But then like you add Jennings.
I think Debo's going to be Debo this year. They're actually going to see the wide receiver in him because the running back is good. It's solid.
Yeah, and then you've got Jennings. Then you've got you bring in Danny Gray, and then people are going to learn who Ray McDonald is. I'm telling you, like they're going to learn who Ray McDonald is this season. Kyle keeps talking about him. John Lynch brought him up during the draft interviews, and I knew at that point that they already had a plan in place for Ray. Like, and I just think he's going to be your more traditional slot kind of jitterbug, like for those like short crossers, that kind of stuff. And,
I like his speed and his acceleration. His acceleration with the speed, it does really good. Like, I didn't know too much of him, and then I was like, okay, let me look it up. And they got that one famous play that everybody has seen with that reverse.
Yeah.
And he just grabs it and takes straight off like a rocket. Usually I'm like, okay, people take time. You got to find a hole where you're going. This man seen it and just boom. There was no second guessing. There was no, well, let me see what else is around. He takes that chance and goes. And it's crazy because it was like, even with small slots, here goes this little gap. He's like, with my speed, I'm going to take it. And he gets through.
Yeah.
So I'm like, he fit through that and he gone. He's out.
Yeah, he was a running back. He was a running back in high school. And like when I found out that he was a running back in high school, I was like, oh, there you go. That's why Kyle likes him. As soon as he saw he was a running back at some point, like that's those are the kind of guys that Kyle likes. So it's and then with Danny Gray, we haven't even seen the dynamic that Danny Gray is going to give us. Plus, they got Marcus Johnson that can run. Plus, they got the other guy that we were talking about from Cowboys that can run. They said that they have another wide receiver that was an undrafted free agent that was actually doing some things in camp. So I just think that it's going to be hard. It's a good problem to have, but it's going to be really hard for them to decide because they're going to lose somebody. And so
Yeah.
I'm hoping what happens is they end up just trading a couple of these guys and maybe getting some compensation like for some of these good players that they got, because you can't fit them all.
It's sad, but somebody has to go.
Yeah, somebody got to go.
And that's what you're gonna hate is that like, man, all this good talent, and then even if you put it on the practice squad, you can't pull that off because then you got practice squad stealing. So we can be like, hey, we'll hold you off for the practice squad. Hey, and then somebody comes and says, hey, no, we need him. I'll just take him from you. Like, no, you can't.
Yeah, no. What you're gonna see is you're gonna see a bunch of those little. They're gonna put them on practice squad IR. Like they're gonna come up with some magical injury and put them on the practice squad IR so they can't be taken.
Exactly.
That's how you do it. Like they did that last year too. That's how they kept Jawan Jennings on the practice squad. They put him on IR.
I mean, man, we the talent that we've seen in these guys, and I can't wait to see Elijah for the second year.
Yeah,
like
sure.
If y'all can think he can do this 1 year, and then they're like, he's been working his butt off, and he's built up on his muscle. Like one of the highlights or I've seen was I'm trying to remember which player it was talking about his running, and they said he looks like to have a dangerous stiff arm this year. And I'm like, I like that. Yeah, and they just talking about, I guess he practices with doing boxing and stuff like that with Fred Warner, because Fred Warner does so they're like, Debo does the boxing, Fred Warner, and they're watching all these players and they're wondering why they're taking this up, and they're like, it's strengthening them. So this guy's arm and stiff arm, like he looks to be like a stiff arm runner this year. So I'm excited to see that. I'm like, the explosiveness and then the switch out between the running backs. We already like using multiple running backs, but the fact to have the options, I don't know who's going to be the number 2 between Ty or Trey. I mean, then Trey, from what I hear, Trey Sermon's been missing right now. So
yeah,
we just got to see what happens if he comes back, what's going on there, and then goes on from there. Like the whole season, I wish it would just kind of speed up past this time. Because I'm even excited to see preseason. Honestly, I'm like, let me see preseason, because all the guys we built up and we still want to see some talent.
Yeah,
I think preseason might be embarrassing because
I feel bad for these teams playing in the preseason.
Our talent is going to show. It's like, yo, preseason.
They're gonna be like, what is this? What? Like this is we just supposed to be running drills out here. Like
that's it, man. We ain't supposed to be going hard. They're like, hey, they talent, man. We sorry for y'all.
I think so. Out of all the players, like all these new guys that we got coming in, and maybe even one of the second guys, who do you see as the big breakout guy for you this season?
Okay, so I'm gonna give you an offense and a defense.
Yeah,
defense. I see Talanoa. I see him making his mark this year. Offense, it's the obvious. Trey Lance is about to spark the world. He's about to shake the NFL game, and it's going to be okay. I'll put a prime example what it's going to remind you of the year of Kaepernick and Russell Wilson. To the point, they were the biggest 2 names, and it came out of nowhere. Kaepernick was behind Alex Smith. Russ was just, just getting there. But boom, these 2 dudes came and made their name. This guy is going to jump up there, and you're going to hear Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Trey Lance. Mark my words.
Yeah.
He's going to get in that talk. Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Brady, Trey Lance. People can say it's overhyped or not. You haven't seen him play again. Listen, we've seen him play.
Yeah.
Let's not forget this dude's second play was a touchdown bomb to Sherfield. And we're preseason or not. Guess what? These guys are out there with NFL talent on that field. I don't care what player it is, whether it's a secondary, third, this is preseason, whatever. These are NFL talented players. And this man went on his second play and was like, bombed out, run that in for a touchdown. Came back. Got a run against Green Bay, run that for a touchdown. He ran it himself. Went to the game versus the Texans. Everybody was like, oh, but it was the Texans. Is it an NFL team? Yes. Can you go out there and beat the Texans with one of your teams you put together? No. So guess what? This man showed out against the Texans? Yes. It is an NFL team. He's going to do great. Y'all keep trying to find excuses to down this guy instead of credit him. Well, he only played one college game. Okay. Hey, he didn't play much in his first season of the NFL. Okay.
Yeah.
No matter what, guess what? You want to know what has in common about this college game he played and his NFL games? He didn't lose.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. The ones he started, he has no loss.
Yeah.
So you keep that in mind.
And I mean, look, and this is the thing. People are going to find a way to discredit him because he played in the FCS. Okay, whatever. Like what people don't know about his team and the FCS is that a lot of teams in Division I didn't want to play him. They didn't want to put them on their schedule. They were afraid of taking an L. Like
exactly, and being embarrassed.
So like don't sit there and think that that North Dakota State is a sec. I mean, this is the same. I don't care that how you feel about Carson Wentz. He's still an NFL quarterback. He still has tons of talent, and like he may not have turned out the greatest, but the fact is this guy was an MVP candidate at one point, and he came from an FCS
his team
school
to the Super Bowl. He may not have won it, but let's all be honest. Through that season, who was their quarterback that take him to that Super Bowl? It was him.
They got Easton Stick. He's another guy from North Dakota State. He's playing for, I believe it's the Chargers. He's on. And then they got now you got Christian Watson coming out. He's going to be on the Packers. Like I mean, it's it's changing. The world is changing. The world of like college football is changing before our eyes. And I think you cannot sit there and look at where a guy goes to school anymore and think that these guys don't have talent.
Well, they could have been stopped that a long time ago. I'm gonna tell you, Randy Moss came from Marshall. Antonio Brown came from Central Michigan. Like, you can't sit here and say, well,
Jerry Rice came from Mississippi Valley State.
Exactly. You can't say they're small schools and expect, oh, well, they come from small school. They'll have no NFL talent. Okay, you keep thinking that.
Yeah. Because most of the time, those guys got heart. Most of the time, those guys got heart, like because they got to where they are because nobody was believing in them. And then when they get to the NFL, they got that same work ethic, and they're just ready to take people's heads off. So it's I don't know. I look at Trey and I don't think that they could have done a better job on picking the guy that they wanted. And like you said, so what that they played the Texans? It was the Texans that they played. The fact that he could come in to that game really with not a lot of practice time,
a week
with the ones,
and a week,
and yeah, he made a couple of mistakes in the first half. But then guess what happened in the second half? They started to run the same plays, and all of a sudden he fixed those mistakes
and tore them up.
When we can see him mature before our eyes, that's really what's going to tell you what we're going to see when he has a full OTA, full mini camp, full off-season program, and full time to work on his craft. Like I think that it's going to be, and I think that's why Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch were cheesing so hard on the on the State of the Franchise interview.
I'm
was
telling you,
because
this is the off-season happiness that makes him want to
it's
talk.
coming. Yeah, it's coming.
So you didn't get to tell me who's your two breakout players?
I mean, since you took Trey already, I'm gonna take somebody else. I think that Jawan Jennings was my pick for a breakout guy. I think that he is gonna be a household name by the end of the season because he does all those little things that don't necessarily show up on the stat, the blocking, all that kind of stuff. But I think that we're gonna see more replays of his blocks and how he's doing cornerbacks dirty, because they showed a few of them last season. But I think his worth is the fact that he demoralizes cornerbacks in the running game, and he tires them out.
Is Trayvon Diggs when he came across and put that man to the ground, boy.
And then he's gonna have a chance to catch the ball from a guy that can actually throw the ball downfield. And I just think it's going to give him a lot. He's going to get a lot of targets in the red zone, like you were talking about earlier. So that's my guy on offense, my breakout player. On defense, my breakout player is going to be Javon Kinlaw. I think Javon Kinlaw has a chance right now. He's going to be extra motivated because and we can say that it's not a big deal and he wouldn't get any motivation from Grant Cohn, but I think that he is hungry to prove all the doubters wrong. And it's going to be every game I feel like from this kid is going to be him trying to show everybody that, hey, I had a hiccup last season with my knees and everything, but I'm not a mistake.
No,
this is going to be, I deserve to be here, and I'm going to show you that we don't need DJ Jones. That's what it is. So I just think that it's going to be a really good season for him. I think he's only going to end up getting 5 or 6 sacks. But for him, that's a breakout performance.
That is.
And I think he's going to hold down that middle and keep the running game.
He's 7. I'll hold you to 2, but I see 7 sacks.
Okay. We go revisit it.
The one I want to post is when we play against Tampa. I want to see who put old man Tom to that ground and say,
"Oh my God!" I think it's gonna be because Tom likes to get the ball when he sees the rush coming. His kryptonite has always been 4-man rush. Yep. He can see the blitz. He can see the blitz and he can just get the ball out quick. But when it's 4 guys, there's nothing to read. There's nothing to read, and it's not like he's going to run out of the pocket. So it's going to be a really interesting that's going to be a really interesting game. But hey man, I really appreciate having you on today.
Oh, thank you.
I hope you had a good time being on the show. I had a good time having you on.
Video, man. I love that intro video.
Oh yeah, I appreciate it. Hey, once again, shout out to Roscoe's Cyberbully. He's a cyberbully on Twitter. If you are a content creator out there, he will not do you dirty. So he's made all my stuff and redid all my intro, my logo, everything. And I'm very happy with it. I hope everybody is happy with it too. Once again, hey Drew, why don't you tell them where they can find you on the socials before we get out of here?
All right. Once again, you can catch me on Twitter. You can catch me on YouTube. Same name right there. Bias Drew, BIASDREW. And hey, come hang and have a fun time with me,
Yeah, for sure. And I can't wait to see your show. Once again, you guys can, if there's ever a time when you can't watch the video on YouTube, I am on anywhere where you can get your podcast, your audio podcast from. I'll be on there too. You just look up Niner Fanatic Podcast. So you can catch me on there. But this is going to be on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. So I thank everybody for watching. Please, I love all the feedback that I've gotten from everybody, and it really helps me improve the channel and make improvements as we go. I love having all my guests that I've had on, And but yeah, thank you guys all for listening. Next week I should be back to Wednesdays. Normally I'm on Wednesdays. This week I had to do it on Thursday because of work. But yeah, I can't wait to see y'all again next week. And next week also I do have an announcement. I will be on the Mariah and TL's show, the Faithful Lead podcast. So I'll be on mine and I'm gonna do theirs next week. So watch out for that. And yeah, catch Mariah and TL anyway on their but make sure you check out 24/7 Niner podcast with Ryan and all them too. Like we got to shout them out. And of course we got so much family, like Ronnie Niner on
that Niner Life.
Yeah, that Niner Life podcast. So check all that. We got so much good Niner content. You can get it from anywhere. So, but once again, thank Drew for coming on. Thank you guys for watching and listening. And as always, go Niners.